A silky smooth, creamy egg custard covered in a rich, sweet caramel sauce creates the perfect ending to any meal. While aesthetically gorgeous and seemingly complicated, a flan is anything but. The ingredients are few and the preparation and baking are quite simple. We love the Americas for this dessert thanks to Spanish exploration with roots in the Roman Empire. Now that's a worldly treat. The word flan has two meanings. In culinary terms, it refers to the French crème caramel, meaning caramel cream dessert. It also is used colloquially to denote nervousness. In Spanish, someone may refer to a nervous individual as a flan, meaning they jiggle like jello. The English equivalent is to shake like a leaf. That, my friends, is why this incredibly tasty dessert is called a flan. Let's check out my coconut version. For the ingredients, you'll need granulated sugar, canned, unsweetened coconut milk, sweetened, condensed coconut milk, eggs, vanilla extract, salt, and toasted coconut for an optional topping. Begin by preheating your oven at 350 degrees and place the rack in the center of the oven if it's not already. You want to fill a tea kettle full of water and begin boiling it over the stove. That's going to be the water that we use for our bain-marie or the baño Maria water bath to cook our flan. Okay, let's begin by making the caramel sauce. Go ahead and set aside a 9 to 10 inch pie plate pan because that's where we're going to put the caramel once it's made. And all you need are a saucepan and granulated sugar. So to a saucepan, you're going to add 200 grams, which is 1 cup of granulated sugar. Turn your stove on medium-high heat, and we're going to continually stir the sugar until it melts and becomes golden brown. And this will take approximately 8 to 10 minutes for that sugar to heat up and to start melting. This is what we call a dry caramel. We're not adding any liquid to this, no water, nothing. The sugar itself will turn to caramel as it heats up. Notice as the sugar melts, it begins to stick together and starts to resemble rock candy. Our rock candy is now starting to melt, and you can see its liquid form developing at the bottom of the saucepan. Okay, it's getting close to being all liquid. We still have a few granules in there, a few rock solid hard sugar pieces, so just keep stirring until it's all melted. Okay, we're there. Our sugar is all melted and we've got that dark amber golden color there. It's very pretty. Now I'm going to go ahead and warn you, do not touch this with your any part of your body. This will burn your skin immediately on contact. As soon as it turns this color, go ahead and continue to stir it, remove it from the heat, pour it into your pie plate and swirl it around. Place your pie plate with the caramel in it in a bigger dish that goes above the sides of the pie plate. This is what we're going to actually bake our flan in, and we're just going to leave it on the stove right here and let the caramel cool. You'll notice the caramel will harden as it sits in the pie plate, but it will melt again as it cooks in the oven. As the caramel solidifies, you may hear cracking, but don't worry, it is the candy, it is not your plate. Okay, let's go ahead and make the flan. So in a large bowl, you're going to add 6 eggs, and these are large eggs, so mine each weigh anywhere from like 47 to 50 grams. And we're going to use a hand mixer. You could also just whisk these by hand, but we're going to whisk until the eggs become bubbly and frothy. We're going to pour in 1 can, this is 320 grams, 11.25 ounces of sweetened condensed milk. This is coconut milk. You can, of course, just use regular sweetened condensed milk if you don't have coconut milk. I like the coconut milk because it makes this recipe dairy-free, and it gets you away from some of those dairy products if you're trying to avoid them. So sweetened condensed milk is very important in this recipe because the thick mixture, since it's mixed with sugar, it does not cause our eggs to curdle. So this is a quick, fail-safe, easy method of mixing eggs without curdling them. Mix both the sweetened condensed milk and your eggs together. So now we're going to add in our canned coconut milk. This is regular fat coconut milk. If you've never used coconut milk, you can find it pretty much any store these days. It's popular in America. But notice when you open it up, you've got this thick cream on top. We need to mix this up. Now, here's the thing with this recipe. A lot of recipes will just use evaporated milk, but coconut milk actually has the same consistency of regular evaporated milk once you mix it up. Now, notice when I remove some of that coconut cream from the top, what comes out is just the coconut water. But we need that little bit of liquid to make this the consistency of evaporated milk. So you don't have to condense any kind of milk to get evaporated milk when you use coconut milk. You just use the full coconut milk can and you'll get the same consistency. You just need to stir it up first. While this recipe uses coconut ingredients, the flan itself will not taste like coconut, believe it or not. So if you are dairy-free but not a coconut fan, don't worry. The coconut to me is not noticeable in this recipe. With the caramel is so sweet and pretty much defines the flavor of the flan that you don't even notice the coconut. And then we're gonna add the coconut milk to our egg and sweetened condensed milk. If you can't find coconut milk, you can just use a can of evaporated milk. I've made this with 12 ounces up to 14 ounces and the recipe turns out the same. In general, custard using canned milk became really popular in the early 20th century because fresh milk was difficult to come by and expensive. And even longer than that, during the Roman Empire in the 1st century, flan was created to use up leftover milk and eggs. So who would have thought that this beautiful creamy dessert is a result of leftovers? So just mix until it's smooth. We're going to add a tablespoon of vanilla, and vanilla, coconut, and caramel go very well together. So I do like to add a lot of vanilla. So since the coconut milk is not really defined, if you want to add significant coconut flavor, go ahead and add a teaspoon of coconut extract here with the vanilla and you'll get more, you'll actually taste the coconut. Otherwise you may not be able to notice it. And then we'll also add 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt, which is about 1 gram. And salt just sort of balances out the sweet flavor. And this flan isn't going to be really, really sweet except for the caramel on top because the only sweetener in this flan at the moment is the sweetened condensed milk. Okay, so now just go ahead and blend it all well together. Okay, our mixture is all nice and smooth. When I lift up the spoon, you can see as it runs off the spoon, it's very smooth. If, however, for whatever reason, you find that your mixture is lumpy, when you pour it in the pie plate over here on top of the caramel, you can actually pour it through a sieve and it'll catch any lumps. But I've never had problems with lumps. You never know, you may just have a bad day for whatever reason. Okay, so now we're gonna pour the mixture over the caramel. Notice that caramel is already hardened and you can start to hear it crack as the cool mixture hits it. The caramel will melt again when it's in the oven. Our pie plate is, of course, in that larger pan because we're gonna fill this outer pan with water so that it helps to give a water bath and keeps the flan from being crusty as it bakes. Place foil over the pie plate, seal it pretty well because we don't want any water getting into our flan. Pull out your center rack out a little bit. Place the big pan with the pie plate in it on the center rack. Take your boiling water from the kettle, pour it into the big pan that's around the pie plate. This is creating the bain-marie or the baño Maria, which is our water bath. You want to fill it up till it goes up to 2/3 of the pie plate. All right, so carefully push this rack back in. This is the easiest way I've found to prepare a water bath. Bake for 50 minutes or longer until the flan is set all around and a knife inserted halfway down the center comes out clean. The flan should flan, meaning it jiggles like jello or shakes like a leaf when lightly shaken. It's still very, very hot, just came out of the oven. You notice it's jiggly. I can even touch it with my finger and there's nothing coming off of it. You can also do the knife test about halfway, it comes out clean. So I'm just gonna lift it out, sit it on a drying towel for a minute since the bottom is wet. We're gonna let the flan sit on a cooling rack for about 2 hours to let it come down to room temperature. At that point, you can unmold it, put it on a serving platter and top it and serve it, or once it cools to room temperature, you can place it in the refrigerator and then mold it on a different day. So this is a great make-ahead dessert. If you don't want to eat it today, you want to save it for another couple of days. It's great even on day 3 and day 4. But as the flan cools, the hard caramel directly on the surface of the pie plate will begin making cracking sounds. Again, don't worry, that's normal. It's just the candy that's sitting on the platter is making the noise. The caramel will be ready and saucy when you invert the flan. When you're ready to serve the flan, you're just going to take a sharp knife, put it on the inside edge of the flan, and just run it around the inside edge, pressing the knife against the pie plate. So all this is just loosening up the flan here. Then take a serving plate or a dish, place it on top. Try to center it because once the flan is unmolded, it'll stick to wherever you put it on the plate. So just make sure the plate is about as even as you can get it. And then flip it over. And then lift it up. Whatever caramel is left in the dish, you can just scoop it out onto the top of your flan. At this point, you can leave the flan as it is and just serve it like this. Slice it up and serve it to how many serving pieces you want. You can put it in the fridge for a few days like this, and it'll be fine to serve in a couple of days. Just cover it up. You can decorate the top with fresh cut seasonal fruit like sliced strawberries, blueberries, or kiwi. Or because I use coconut milks in this, I'm actually going to put a little bit of coconut shavings. These are just coconut chips on the top. And these are toasted and they're chips, so they're crunchy. And this just sort of highlights the coconut that's in it. If you're going to serve this now, then yes, top it now. But if you're going to serve this at a different time, then I would add the toppings right before you serve it at a later date. So the coconut will give it a little bit of crunch to the flan because the flan is really smooth. So there you are, the coconut flan. Okay, let's cut into this flan and see what we have on the inside. So you cut flan like in wedges like you would pizza or a pie. There's all that yummy caramel that's there beside it. All right, moment of truth here. Check out that nice egg custard. You can tell that the caramel has baked into the top of the custard. There's a nice layer of thick caramel in the custard. The oozing caramel, of course, is going to add that nice bit of richness. So when you serve the custard, pick up some of that caramel and then just pour it over the serving piece as well to enhance that little extra caramel there and have it nicely decorated around the plate. There we are, a coconut flan with coconut chips on top. Store flan in the fridge covered for up to a week. This light dessert is great eaten after a heavy meal when you want something a little sweet. The custard itself isn't very sweet, but the caramel sauce on top balances out, making it a true dessert. If you're looking for an elegant looking dessert that doesn't break the bank or take up too much time and that can be made ahead of time, consider this one. It's gluten and dairy free, but no one would know because it tastes just really good. Muchas gracias for watching, liking, and subscribing. Until next time, go bake the world.